Republicans. The Thug Fund is a jaw dropper that's incensed Republicans in the Senate over the holiday weekend. Reports they are vexed. One senator in the party says the stupid stuff is killing their chances. Another Republican pollster notes that if Trump's highest goal were to maintain control of Congress, he wouldn't be doing.
Okay, listen to that again. The stupid, stupid stuff. That is a sitting United States senator, not a former aide, not an anonymous source in a think piece. A sitting senator in Trump's own party, saying out loud on the record that what Donald Trump is doing right now is actively destroying their chances in the midterms. And that quote, just that quote, tells you almost everything you need to know about where things stand. Because here's what's important to understand. This isn't one issue. It's not just the Iran situation. It's not just the tariffs. It's not just the so-called Thug Fund, a proposed account to pay legal fees for people convicted of crimes, which set off Republican senators over a holiday weekend. It's all of it, simultaneously, at the same time, creating a pileup that nobody inside the party seems to know how to slow down. You've got gas prices almost $1.50 higher than last summer. You've got groceries costing more. You've got an open-ended military situation in Iran that Trump promised would be short and decisive, and by every visible measure, is neither. You've got self-dealing corruption allegations. You've got plans floating around that have his own allies baffled. And now you've got a Republican pollster, again, a Republican pollster, saying that if Trump actually wanted to hold on to Congress, he wouldn't be doing any of what he's currently doing. That is the situation we are in. But here's where it gets really interesting. Because the senators and the pollsters aren't even the most surprising voices pushing back right now.
MAGA is not what it was. MAGA is now this very, very small group of Trump diehard loyalists who have to love Mark Levin. And so that's, by definition, an increasingly tiny group.
MAGA is tiny. MAGA is dying.
Megyn Kelly, laughing, with guests off camera, about the decline of MAGA. I want you to think about the significance of that for a second. This is someone who has spent years as one of the most recognizable conservative media voices in the country. She's not a Democrat doing a victory lap. She's not a centrist commentator trying to seem balanced. She's looking at the state of the movement and describing it, with laughter in her voice, as an increasingly tiny group of die-hard loyalists. Tiny, that's the word she used. Now, is she right? I'll come back to that. But for right now, just sit with the fact that this is the conversation happening among conservative voices this summer. Not on MSNBC, not in progressive circles. This is what's being said on the right when the guard is down. And it's not stopping with Megyn Kelly.
Trying to backpedal, but they've created a dragon that they've fed consistently for close to a decade. And now so many of them are hand-wringing, saying, like, why is he biting us? And it's very clear Donald Trump has his own agenda, and he's not really thinking about his party.
They created a dragon. That framing, honestly, is one of the most precise things I've heard said about this whole situation. Because that's what happened. For the better part of a decade, a significant portion of Republican leadership, conservative media, and influential voices made a calculation. They decided that the energy Trump generated, the base he activated, the attention he commanded, all of that was worth whatever chaos came with it. They could manage it. They could shape it. They could ride it. And now, the dragon is biting. And they're standing there, hand-wringing, asking why. The answer, and this is the part of the conversation that gets ignored, is that nothing about Donald Trump's behavior right now is new. Not the impulsiveness, not the instincts he refuses to override, not the tendency to prioritize his own interests over the party's, not the inability to be reined in by experts. None of this is new information. This was all visible during the first term.
Scared of this tariff stuff.
Trump has put his tariffs all over the place. I've been trying to understand him. I don't.
His giant tariff policy that he just dropped on the market unilaterally, probably unconstitutionally.
What the is going on with our country? Guys, why am I poor?
It seems like you think your base is stupid. That's how I feel. I feel like Trump thinks his base is stupid.
Deporting people because you don't like who they're criticizing? Like, that gets kind of shifty.
3 times I voted for this man. This is by far the biggest fumble of the administration they've had thus far.
It's indefensible that the answers aren't there when so much was promised.
It looks terrible. It looks terrible for Trump when he was saying that none of this was real. This is all a hoax. This is not a hoax.
There is something there, and it's being covered up, and the president blessed it. He can't be a dignified, strong leader without threatening a bunch of war crimes?
So what do you think of what's going on in Iran?
It's terrifying.
Yeah.
All of it's terrifying.
I'm sick of it. Can't he just behave like a normal human?
Okay, take a breath, because I need you to actually absorb what you just watched. That wasn't an MSNBC clip package. That wasn't Democratic opposition research. Those are conservative voices, influential ones, voices with massive audiences, voices that help put this man in office, saying the following things: that they don't understand the tariff policy, that they feel like Trump thinks his base is stupid, that they voted for this man 3 times and this is the biggest fumble they've seen, that the Epstein situation isn't a hoax, that the Iran situation is quote-unquote terrifying, that they can't defend a president who, quote, can't be a dignified, strong leader without threatening war crimes. Joe Rogan, asking why am I poor, speaking to an audience of tens of millions, wondering out loud what happened to the economic vision they were sold. That's not a small thing. That's not a blip. That's a significant slice of the coalition that delivered the 2024 election, publicly questioning the return on what they voted for. And look, I'm not here to tell you whether those critiques are fair or whether they go far enough or whether these voices should have spoken up sooner. All of that is a legitimate conversation. But what we cannot pretend is that this isn't happening. It is happening, right now, in public. Here's the thing about the where were they question, though, because it matters. One of the analysts in today's coverage asked it directly. Where were these voices when all the warning signs were there? January 6th, the pandemic year, the firing of every expert who disagreed, the bleach moment, the refusal to concede an election. All of it happened, and most of these same voices either defended it, downplayed it, or looked the other way. And now, with gas prices up, groceries up, an unresolved war, and a corruption scandal that's vexing their own senators over Memorial Day weekend, now they're speaking up. So what changed? Partly it's the stakes. Midterm elections create a hard deadline. A senator who privately grumbled about stupid stuff now has to actually win a race in this environment. That changes the calculus. Suddenly the chaos isn't abstract. It has a cost attached to it. Partly it's accumulation. There's a difference between any single controversy and the weight of all of them arriving together. The Epstein files, the Iran war, the tariff chaos, the thug fund, the polling numbers, the economic data. When all of that lands in the same news cycle, in the same summer, it becomes hard to compartmentalize. And partly, and this is the part that's most uncomfortable for everyone involved, it's survival instinct. When influential media voices start sensing that the political wind is shifting, they position themselves accordingly. The Megyn Kelly criticism once a week that's being referenced, the Rogan questions. It's possible some of this is genuine reckoning, and it's possible some of it is people watching a ship list and quietly moving toward the lifeboats. Either way, the result is the same. The unified front that protected Trump through almost everything is visibly fracturing. And summer, historically, is when political narratives get locked in before the home stretch. If the baked-in image of this summer is Trump's allies are publicly doubting him, his base is questioning him, and his party is panicking, that is a genuinely difficult hole to climb out of before November.
When his own base is telling him that is not the case. They don't feel any sort of economic prosperity. That was promised. That's why they voted for him 3 times, many of them. So this, we're seeing an increasingly unhinged president. As Chase said, though, we saw this in the first term, obviously. Many people refuse to acknowledge it. But there are, we've entered a different Rubicon with this second term of Donald Trump, especially with him going after innocent Americans, essentially ruling by miscellaneous edict. I mean, every day there's something new. And I think for a lot of Republicans, seeing him literally rip up Washington, D.C. with no justification or economic plan is quite worrisome. And so the only way they see a path to victory is obviously gerrymandering, which we're seeing across the South. And obviously it'll come to other states up north sooner rather than later. But that is the only political path for many Republicans, because the policies just aren't there. And we can see in the poll numbers, not just from, obviously Democrats aren't happy, but the growing number of independents and Republicans increasingly so.
That right there is the long game. This isn't just about one election cycle. What's being described, the combination of economic pain that hits every trip to the grocery store, a war with no clear justification or exit strategy, an administration that dismisses the concerns of its own voters. That's the kind of thing that reshapes coalitions, not just for one election, for a generation. The professor's point about young people specifically is something that gets underreported. Young voters who came out in 2024 based on economic promises, abundance, security, a different kind of prosperity, are now watching gas prices stay high, tariffs hit their wallets, and a war drag on with no explanation. That disillusionment doesn't just show up in one poll. It shows up in an entire generation's relationship with a political movement. And the gerrymandering point, that's the tell. When one of the analysts says the only path forward for Republicans is gerrymandering, that's an acknowledgement that the policy record can't stand on its own. You don't reach for structural advantages when you're confident in your results. You reach for them when you're not. Here's where we land. The dragon metaphor is going to stick with me because it's exactly right. What's happening right now isn't a surprise to anyone who is paying attention. Donald Trump behaving impulsively, following his own instincts regardless of expert advice, prioritizing personal interests over party stability, getting more draconian and vindictive over time. This was all observable, documented, predictable. The only new ingredient is that the people who told you not to watch for those things are now watching for those things. Joe Rogan saying, "What the F-fuck is going on?" Megyn Kelly laughing about MAGA's decline. Ted Cruz worried about Iran. A senator saying the stupid stuff is killing their chances. These voices reach audiences that mainstream political coverage doesn't, and those audiences are hearing something different from what they heard for the last decade. Whether that translates into real political consequences, that's the question this summer is going to answer. But one thing is not in question anymore. The revolt is real, it's out loud, and it's coming from inside the House.